All right, good morning, guys. Happy Saturday. It is quite early, having my cup of coffee. Figured I'd do some charting with you guys this morning. All right, so real quick, if you're brand new this week to the Patreon community at The Rock, please make sure that you're in both, that's two, Telegram rooms. All right, if you're in tier two, that is tier two or tier three, because I see some of you joining the general chat group and not the in and out alert room, so you're gonna get confused. So please make sure you join both groups. All right. In addition to that, in this Patreon posting, I'm also going to include the Dropbox links once again, so you guys have all the videos, access to all the videos we've ever created in this community via Dropbox. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started for this morning. So I get a lot of requests from you guys. Okay, we get the swing trades, right? You guys get most of my strategies on swing trades. How about day trading? So let's talk about day trading. And the example we're going to use here is HLBZ. So if you guys remember, HLBZ was crazy yesterday. Congratulations for a lot of you that got in about the same time as I did. Some of you guys even got in a little early off the news. So for the most part, let's just think through this particular trade. I know in retrospect, in hindsight, it's always 2020. It's very, very difficult, right, to trade while you're in the zone in the morning, and when to take profit and when to stop out, and if you get out, well, I mean, are you leaving profit behind on the table? And you're always going to run into that. So don't feel bad that sometimes, yeah, you get out of a 200% runner a little bit too early. You could rescalp it and things like that. But the point is, don't feel bad over that, because that's all going to happen to all the best traders. Okay. Even the best traders on FinTwit will miss out on profits, even myself. So I definitely missed out on a good chunk of profit, but some of you guys held on, and that's very good. But let's think through it strategically. All right. So with that being said, I'm looking at the 5 minutes chart on the HLBZs from yesterday's news drop. All right. So you can see big candles already, forming. Right. So when it comes to day trading, I only use candles, and I use two support lines called EMA 9 and 15. So EMA is exponential moving average. You want to use EMA on minute and hourly charts if you can. Some folks like to use EMA on swing charts, which is to me on the daily or 4 hour chart. I use SMA, simple moving averages, on daily charts, and I use EMA on hourly, 1 hour, and the 5 minute, 15, 30, etc. Now, I hardly use the 15, 30 minute chart, so I'm always trading via the 5 minute chart. The 1 minute, 3 minute charts that Webull offers are really emotional. So for me, it's like getting stopped out real quick. Okay. Now, the first thing I'm always looking for is when the news drops. All right. When it drops, you're always going to see what? Big candles, green, leading and breaking above the EMA. Now, we can't always be, when the news drops, by the time we get it, that I see it in Benzinga, we're about 3 to 5 minutes late. Okay. So your question is, okay, do I buy the spike? All right. And the answer is, well, quite frankly, you're going to have to see. Does the spike, obviously, does it break above EMA 9 and 15? And in this situation, it obviously does. Okay. So we bought in right about, I want to say, about $15 actually. So I waited a little bit to see if there was going to be a pullback. But as soon as it hits 15, I was like, oh boy, this thing's up 60%, 50%. Is it really going to pull back? And it did later on after the bell. We saw the halt down. All right. But then it just continued to run right after that. It went to 25. All right. So what I do is, once we recognize that the trade is good, we get in at 15, right? And once I realize it's good, it's a good trade because it continues to run to 15, 16, etc. And then as it halted down a little bit. But you notice that when it halted down, I got out right at the bell. Okay. Some of you held on through the down halt. Okay. And some of you re-entered back towards the beginning of the day. But what I'm always looking for is that on a runner like this, does it respect the EMA 9? Okay. And if it does, then you can stick with the trade, even though there's a halt down here, etc. I got out right before the halt. So I was like, oh boy, right? So that was kind of nerve wracking because you don't want to give away all the profits, right? But then this thing kept doing what? Respecting the EMA, my white line right here, all right, all the way up. Okay, so that was a fantastic trade. Now, how do you know that 25.75 is the top for this trade? All right. Well, number one, I don't go back into a trade after I've already been successful. All right. In this case scenario, I broke my own rule. I actually did. I got back into 17. I was like, oh no, it's breaking the EMA. So when it broke the EMA, I got out. Okay. You never know how far below the prices are going to go below the EMA. Yeah, it could be a momentary dip. All right. In hindsight, it respected EMA 9 and the 15. You can see that. And then it jumped back up to 25. All right. When it started breaking here, I got out because that's the responsible thing to do. Right. Yes, you could say, John, you should have diamond held it. Yeah, I probably should have in hindsight. Right. So once it broke here, I got out. But some of you guys wrote it all the way to 25. Now, how do you know that 25 is the absolute critical top of this chart? And we saw in this scenario, we have to not just use EMA or exponential moving averages, but we have to use candlestick pattern. You can see this is the shooting star candlestick, or some folks like to call it inverted hammers. In this scenario, this tells me it's a top. Whenever you see long upper shadows on candlesticks, that generally tells you there's a significant resistance at that top. All right. And if not enough bulls or volume come in to push, then your trade is done. You can't run it to 25.75 and wait to get out at 20, right? Does that make sense? Because you're risking $5 a share just to see if it comes back up. All right. So most big runners generally you will see a 5-minute inverted hammer or shooting star, and that can signal the top. Not always. I've seen things run with the candlestick inverted hammers, but for the most part, from my experience, inverted hammers can generally signal the top of the market. All right. Now, with that being said, okay, well, since this is such a great runner, you've made profit on it. Could you scalp it again? And the answer is absolutely yes. And one of the two things I look for in terms of rescalping it or trying to get back in, you're just recognize that if you're going to rescalp this play, all right, it's going to have to be very tight stop, like a couple percentage points, and don't expect 50%. All right, you're going to expect 20, 10, 15%. Let's take a look. Two things to recognize here. When it falls below the EMA, you would generally see a reversal doji right here. So this is what we call a dragonfly right here, if you guys can see that on my screen. So that's a nice reversal doji, okay? That means a temporary support has been found at $19.28 or $19.30. And so from here, we could enter on these two sticks, right, and run it up. And you can see that's a pretty nice, healthy profit, right? 19 to 22 ain't bad, right? And it breaks the EMA, but guess what? People were taking profit right here. All right. And so you can see that come below the EMA. So you know that the trade is done. Throughout most of the day, after a runner like Hblz is done, you will just generally see bear flag setups. Okay. Yes, it will swing a little bit higher, but you don't want to risk the profit. Okay. So if you got in here, sell here. All right. If you feel that this is the bottom, all right, take it for another scalp. There's your inverted hammer once again, and then it falls apart. Towards the end of the day, it definitely fell apart. Right. So there are opportunities, but for the most part, they're going to be bear flags. So when you get into a bear flag situation, yes, it's doable. You can make profit on it. However, you want to be careful to make a tight stop and take profits right away. Okay, nothing to play with, or unless you want to get trapped in what happened after hours yesterday. So this came back down to $15. So it lost most of its gains for the day. So it's actually really only up like 50% on the day. All right. I hope that makes sense. All right. So that's part of my strategy. Now with this too, you can see that this on the 5-minute chart, it hardly created a bull flag, right? Most times with a big runner like this, I'm looking for a bull flag setup in order for me to get in. I'd rather see it pull back than buy the spike. This actually didn't see that pullback or a bull flag. But most of this was such a low flow, I would assume, because it's such a low flow, such great news, Fox Business or Fox News or Fox Network. And this just kept taking off. So anyway, congratulations for anyone on this trade here. All right. So with that being said, I'm going to go back to my recording. I'm going to stop my screen here. All right. And I'm going to share my screen. And I'm going to share this one. Okay. All right. So let's talk about what's happening this week. So yesterday, I dropped a video on a couple of tickers we're watching for tomorrow or for next week. Lucid, $25 calls, elite calls, or $30 elite calls. We have BBIG, we have ANY on deck, IRNT puts on deck for next week. Now, if you're new to the community, it doesn't mean I'm going to get into all of them. It just means that I'm going to be watching. Those are going to be my prime watch list. Okay. So I'm going to add two to the watch list tomorrow. And the first one is what we call Ader. If you guys remember Ader, we ran this up to about $20 last week or earlier this week. That was fantastic. And I'm looking at the 4-hour chart and it's pulling back, found the support here near at $10. And yesterday it jumped up. Okay. Now, with this, I'm not expecting this to come back to 19. This is going to be one of those 535 movements, Elliott waves. Okay, if you remember the 535s, right? So it's going to do one, right? Probably this is 1, 2, and it's going to fall off. It could fall off a little bit more. So from this move, I'm looking for a potential $15 move before it falls apart once again. So this one here is on deck. If I look at the daily chart, there's not much to look at except there's a bullish engulfing candle, which is nice, okay? But I'm not going to get faked out on this, all right? We don't want to go overextending our trades with something that's already ran before, unless they have news, etc. But you don't want to go in this and expecting $20 again. What you can expect here is probably a 1.618 move to about $15, all right? So that's Ader. And also, I've been hearing a lot of chatter on ANIL. I know is it ANIL? Sorry. Let me look at my calendar here. Somebody, oh no, here we go. SUNL. A lot of folks are on Twitter hammering me about the stock. Obviously, it's did a crazy gap down from $10. Crazy swings on a daily, bearish engulfing candle. Point of control right here at the 570 area. So it's kind of like near floor. All right. So that's what the first thing that stood out to me. If I go over the 2-hour daily chart, okay, once again, the cool thing is it's coming back to the floor level, okay, the point of control. Some folks are saying that there is a big short interest behind SUNL. So I'm just going to go to shortable or shortsqueeze.com. And let's see if I see anything here. Only 10% interest. Okay. All right. So if you guys got more, someone messaged me about this one. So anyway, so this one is kind of near floor. So I'm going to be watching this as well. Let me go over 4-hour chart, see if I see anything here. Yeah, just a lot of just a pretty good volume shelf so far at this level. Yeah. All right. But this one will be a wild one. So I'll keep it on deck to see if there's an entry for next week. All right. Long video. Sorry, guys. I'm done here. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you guys pre-market on Monday morning.